There are certain sporting moments that hit differently depending on who is watching, and this is one of those moments. When Norway's World Cup run came to an end in the quarterfinals against England, the reaction from fans back in Europe was understandable. But what caught almost everyone off guard was just how heartbroken American fans were watching it happen. Over the last 6 weeks, Erling Haaland had somehow become one of the most talked about athletes in the entire country, turning casual viewers into die-hard supporters of a Norwegian national team that, before this tournament, most Americans could not have picked out of a lineup. In this video, we are going to walk through exactly how that quarterfinal exit unfolded, why American fans became so emotionally invested in the first place, and what this entire run says about the growing love affair between the United States and this new generation of football stars. So let us get into it. To understand why this exit stung so badly for American audiences, you have to rewind to earlier in the tournament, when Haaland was putting together one of the most dominant individual runs anyone had ever seen at a World Cup. Norway had never even reached the group stage of a World Cup during Haaland's lifetime, which made every single win feel like uncharted territory for a country that had spent decades watching from the sidelines. As the tournament progressed and Norway kept advancing, something interesting started happening across the United States. Casual sports fans who normally reserved their emotional energy for football, basketball, or baseball found themselves tuning in specifically to watch this towering Norwegian striker terrorize opposing defenses. His combination of raw power, clinical finishing, and an easygoing personality off the pitch made him incredibly easy to root for, even for people who had never followed the sport closely before this summer. Before we get into how the exit actually played out, take a second to hit that like button and make sure you are subscribed, because we are going to keep covering these World Cup storylines as they continue to unfold. It genuinely helps the channel and only takes a second. Alright, let us get back into it. Haaland's tournament had been nothing short of remarkable heading into the quarterfinal against England. He had already scored 7 goals across his appearances, a tally that put him level with Kylian Mbappe and Lionel Messi at the top of the Golden Boot race, an almost unthinkable achievement for a player representing a nation with so little World Cup pedigree. The signature moment of the entire run came in the round of 16 against Brazil, when Haaland scored 2 late goals to send the 5-time champions home in their earliest exit since 1990. That win sent shockwaves through American sports media, with major outlets suddenly treating Norway as legitimate contenders rather than a feel-good underdog story, and it set the stage for a quarter-final showdown against England that fans across the country began circling on their calendars days in advance. The match itself took place in South Florida under brutally difficult conditions, with a heat index pushing past 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and those conditions ended up playing a significant role in how the game unfolded. Haaland struggled to find his usual rhythm for much of the match, unable to replicate the explosive movement that had defined his tournament up to that point. As fatigue and the oppressive heat took their toll, Norway's manager made the difficult call to substitute his talisman during extra time, with Haaland visibly spent after carrying so much of the offensive load across the previous rounds. Norway ultimately fell 2-1 in extra time, with Haaland's former club teammate Jude Bellingham scoring twice to send England through to the semi-finals instead. A cruel twist considering the personal history between the two players from their days together at Borussia. What made this exit sting so much for American viewers was not just the result itself, but the emotional investment that had built up over the previous 6 weeks. Many fans openly admitted online that they had never cared this much about a foreign national team before, and losing felt less like watching a random elimination, and more like watching a story they had personally attached themselves to come to an abrupt and unsatisfying end. Social media lit up almost instantly after the final whistle, with countless posts expressing genuine sadness rather than the usual detached commentary that typically follows international soccer results. Some fans compared the feeling to watching a beloved television show get cancelled right as it was building toward its best season. A comparison that resonated widely because it captured just how unexpectedly personal this attachment had become for people who, a few months earlier, had barely known who Haaland was. Beyond the emotional reaction, this entire run highlighted something significant happening with soccer's popularity in the United States. Analysts and commentators pointed out that Haaland's blend of dominant performances and relatable personality made him the perfect entry point for casual American sports fans who had previously viewed international soccer as something distant and hard to connect with. His larger-than-life presence, both physically and in terms of personality, turned him into what many described as a genuine folk hero over the course of the tournament. Someone who transcended the usual barriers that often keep American audiences from fully embracing soccer stars from other countries. Even after the loss, sports media outlets noted that this connection was unlikely to fade quickly, suggesting that American interest in Haaland and in Norway's national team would likely carry over into future tournaments regardless of this particular disappointment. In the aftermath of the elimination, Haaland spoke openly about what the tournament had meant to him personally, expressing genuine pride in how far Norway had come despite falling short of the ultimate goal. He acknowledged that the physical toll of playing match after match had finally caught up with him during the England game, admitting that fatigue and the demanding conditions had left him running on empty by the time the coaching staff made the decision to substitute him. Even in defeat, he emphasized how meaningful it was to see the impact this run had on a new generation of young players and fans back home, suggesting that this tournament could serve as a turning point for Norwegian soccer moving forward rather than simply a disappointing ending. At the end of the day, what made this World Cup exit so notable was not just the football itself, but the unexpected emotional bridge it built between a Norwegian superstar and an American audience that rarely commits this deeply to international soccer storylines. Watching grown adults across the United States express genuine heartbreak over a quarterfinal loss involving a team they had never previously followed says everything about how effectively Haaland captured the country's attention over these last several weeks. Whether this was simply a moment in time or the beginning of a much longer relationship between American fans and this new wave of global soccer stars remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: nobody who watched this run unfold will forget just how quickly they found themselves emotionally invested in a team they never expected to care about this much. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you are subscribed so you catch our next video the moment it drops, because this story is far from over.